Hello, you're listening to E-Bible Fellowship's new Open Forum Excerpts, and now we present the following excerpt.
Welcome to our new Open Forum program. Please go ahead with your call.
Good evening, Mr. McCann. Could you go to Matthew 13, 24 and 25, please?
In another parable, put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way.
Couple things. The kingdom of heaven and it says it's like unto a man which sow a good seed in his field, and maybe the field has to do with the world. And could we cross-reference this with Job chapter 2, verse 1 and 2, please?
Job 2, verse 1 again. There was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before Jehovah, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Jehovah. And Jehovah said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered Jehovah, and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Yes, and here is the day. Is that day still the day of salvation, or the day that has to do with the first, the yearly rain? Yeah, I take your response, Mr. McCann, to these verses. Thank you.
Well, in Matthew 13, the parable of the wheat and the tares, it is identified with the church age and also the early rain. And Satan is very active. He's sowing tares amongst the wheat. The explanation of the parable is a little further down in Matthew 13, where we read in verse 37, He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, or the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels or the messengers. And I understand what you're asking in Job, but I just haven't looked into Job with that kind of spiritual focus. I've looked at Job as a type of Christ, and I've always understood Satan entering into heaven itself in order to accuse Job. Now, we do know, because he does accuse Job, that this is historical to some degree. That doesn't mean there can't be a spiritual meaning having application to other things. But because God uses historical occurrences all the time to teach about the end of the world, like the flood or destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and historical events. So it's a historical event that there was a day, and it's interesting that God is calling it a day, because if he's in heaven, he's outside of time. And the sons of God came to present themselves before Jehovah, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Jehovah. And is this making some kind of reference to the people of God being infiltrated by Satan, as has been the case throughout all history practically, right from the Garden of Eden, who came among Adam and Eve and destroyed, was instrumental in the destruction of the Garden of Eden, that outward little representation of God's kingdom on the newly created earth. And likewise in Israel, there was much wickedness in doctrine. Well, who would have been active in doing that? That would have been Satan. And we know at the time of Christ, there were a great many demons that had infilled people. Satan himself was present in Judah. He infilled Judas. And so there was much demonic or fallen angel activity at that time. And so it's something to consider. And I've never looked at Job in that way. And so I think it is something to, check out and see, well, what could there be a spiritual meaning, a deeper spiritual meaning? We know historically, yes, there is this instance where Satan is somehow accusing Job, and the book of Revelation in chapter 12 tells us of Satan and his name or a label that he received. The accuser of the brethren is cast down. So it is something he had done for quite a long time, accused the brethren. But in particular, what's in view here? There's also another reference of false prophets in maybe Second Kings, could be First Kings, with, I believe it's Micaiah, and God is making a statement. Well, who will go and bring deception is basically what God was saying to Ahab, and then Satan stands up, I will do it. So those kinds of conversations, those kinds of accounts, I think are good for us to look further into. Now there is the spiritual meaning of Job, a type of Christ, and all of the assaults that come against Job. And so it could be that here the spiritual picture would be these sons of God could identify with national Israel. And national Israel was used by the enemy. We'd have to say that. Who is it that stirred them up? We know God lifted his hand of restraint. It had to happen according to the determinate will and counsel of God. It must be Christ go to the cross. But nonetheless, Satan was very active the whole period of Christ's ministry, and the sons of God could refer to the Israelites at that time, and Satan being among them, just as later he would be among the tares within the churches and congregations. That would be one direction to look into.
Thanks for watching, and be on the lookout for more new Open Forum excerpts that will be added periodically.